of Neptune, New Jersey, finishing in the number 3 spot. And that inside row, when the green comes out, keep your eye on it. The white flag out right now from starter Bill Merkling. I don't mean to not pay attention to the outside row. You got Brian Ross, give the 12 of Brett Bodine in row 4, picking up the pace off the corner. Here's the green. Down the front chute. It's Tomeno getting out in front. Jamie Tomeno gets the bite off the corner. Richie Evans tries to get underneath Brian Ross, but Ross runs him on the outside. It's Jamie Tomeno out in front. Brian Ross running second. Evans sets back in third. Reggie Ruggiero running fourth on the outside. Gary Ewell is fifth. Tony Hirschman now down low trying to take the number 5 spot away. Doug Hewitt goes to look low, but Greg Sachs is right there. Now you got Ross going to work on the 09 and Jamie Tomeno. Jimmy McGraw way wide up there between 3 and 4. Gets it back down in the racing groove. 09, Jamie Tomeno. Hewitt out of shape down here in turn 2. He lost a lot of spots. Falls back into line. Here's Brian Ross to the outside of Jamie Tomeno. Brian Ross running hard in the high groove, and that gives Richie Evans room underneath. Reggie Ruggiero still right down the front straightaway, completing lap number 4, and the yellow flag comes out. Wow, cars in Rotunda, one of the cars involved over there. We'll give you a check on the other one just as soon as we can. Several cars in the back of the field coming together. Rotunda doing a long slide down pace. Now he gets on it. There's the green. They stay right in line, coming off the corner. Tomeno got a good jump there. Richie Evans looks low underneath Brian Ross, but no room. Ross side by side down the back straightaway into 3, and Ross out pulls him in the corner. Brian drifts a little bit high though. Now down the front chute. Brian Ross on the outside. Richie Evans down low, and Ross trying to slam the door shut, but Richie keeps the nose right up in there. Brian Ross running second, Richie Evans third, down into turn 3, and now finally Ross gets the door shut, but he drifts high in the corner. Your leader, Jamie Tomeno, running 19 seconds flat as he completes lap number 5, that last lap in 18.8. Brian Ross in the number 2 spot rides the outside of Richie Evans. Running 7th, Brett Bodine is still there in the number 8 spot. Now Evans gets by Ross, and Reggie Ruggiero tries to fill the hole underneath, but Ross slams the door on him coming off turn 2. Brian Ross loses second to Richie Evans, 18.67, and he comes back with an 18.8. Jamie Montgomery bobbled just a little bit, and Jamie Tomeno lost about half his lead, but he now gets by Evans. Right, Don Pratt down the front straightaway. He brushed wheels with Jim Alborn. Pratt and Alborn brushing wheels coming into 1. Edwards, slow pace again. Now the green is out. Let's say up on the outside. Whoa, Mamolino tried to go, but somebody cut him off. Mike McLaughlin also went to the outside, back at the rear of the field. Jamie Tomeno set a real slow pace on that restart. He's got Jamie Tomeno out of Neptune, New Jersey in that number 1 spot. Tomeno setting the pace in the 09. Richie Evans. The yellow comes out, jump that time. Couple of cars trying their luck on the outside, including the 52 of Hewitt, as he works up Richie Evans. Evans hanging on to the number 2 spot with Brian Ross starting on the pole running. Evans gets a wheel underneath but has to back out. Jamie Tomeno drifted high down in turn 3, and he goes high again in 1. Tomeno was pushing a little bit earlier tonight, and the car starting to push again apparently as he drifted high down here in the corner, and Evans got a wheel underneath. Here's Brian Ross back to the outside. Brian Ross back to the outside, and Reggie Ruggiero to the outside trying to fill the hole underneath now in turn 1. He's got Brian Ross on the outside. Ruggiero down low. Tony Hirschman, and whoa! Car number 5 is 6. The green flag back out. This time, Tomeno got a good jump as Richie got caught sleeping that time. And Evans loses about 5. Car bumper tag with a 61 of Richie Evans. Ross running third right behind Evans. As it's now, he's got a wheel underneath Tomeno. Richie Evans under Tomeno going into 3, and he's through there. Evans takes the lead away from the 09, and look at Brian Ross. Brian Ross is through. Ross takes over second. And once again, Tomeno finds himself running third. Reggie Ruggiero is right there fourth, and Tony Hirschman and Greg Sachs right behind. Richie Evans, though, the BR to win, number 61, is out in front with 17 laps in the record book. Cars running bumper to bumper. Nobody taking a chance on getting out of line because they know the freight train is right behind. Richie Evans, the race leader. Brian Ross running second. Jamie Tomeno right now is third. Tomeno running third with Reggie Ruggiero fourth. Just about a car length separating all of the front six cars. Now Bodine 78 of Dave Mashuga as the leader's freight train by him on the outside. Bodine contemporary 3 of Brian Ross in the 09 of Jamie Tomeno with this race now.
The number 3 spot. Reg Ruggiero, the Danny's Market, 44 in fourth. And I'll tell you, the Crazy 8 of Magic Shoes, Mike McLaughlin, has run a great race here. He is up there in 10th spot. Everybody working hard at this one. Evans out in front. Brian Ross running a great race in the number 2 spot. Tomeno right there third. Ruggiero falling off the pace now. Reggie. And a jam up over there in the fourth corner as other cars now come into the melee. Flag is out there in a hurry, and they're back underway. Richie Evans, the Rapid Roman, and look at Tomeno. Tomeno trying to get a wheel down underneath Brian Ross, couldn't do it. Reggie Ruggiero, fourth turn down the front straightaway. Evans in the lead. Richie Evans, high compression, small block engines, cutting the job, turning within about a second of these. Behind Tony, Greg Sachs and Brett Bodine. Then just a little break in the action. The 88 out in front of Jamie Tomeno. 35 laps down. Tires could play an important part in this race, as the heat out there has been tremendous all night long. Richie Evans, the Rapid Roman, in the lead. Brian Ross in second. Tomeno third. Reggie Ruggiero in fourth. Hirschman, Tony in the number 5 spot. Greg Sachs right there sixth. Well, so far, pretty much according to the book, except for Brian Ross. And Brian been running strong. Richie Evans, tough to beat. And Richie, a good runner in traffic. Brian Ross has raced with him for many years, and he stays right on his back bumper. Jamie Tomeno still in that number 3 spot. Ruggiero back there fourth. Nobody able to make a clear move on the leaders. Evans and Brian Ross in lap number 4. Tony Hirschman still holding that number 5 spot. Sachs tried to sneak up in there using the lap car, but can't do it. 40 laps down is the 99 of Crape with McGraw's 49. Richie Evans, Bryant still working hard as they come up through lap traffic. Richie Evans trying to clear that traffic, the 11 of Jim Alborn, and Evans now has a clear track ahead, but Brian Ross stays right with him. Brian right on his back bumper. A relatively clear track ahead. Tomeno still holds third. Reg Ruggiero in the number 4 spot. Coming around the lap traffic, the cars in the back of the pack. And now Mike McLaughlin is running a very strong race after winning the Conce. 46 laps in the book. And Richie Evans hangs on to the lead. Keep your eyes on Brian Ross. Brian closing up in the corners, in between the turns. They're coming up on some slower cars once again. Brian Ross riding a good sack. Coming up to complete 50 laps, 2/3 of this race. And another lap of 18.6 for Richie Evans. All right, here to take you the rest of the way home is Roy Soba.
All right, Jack, and Rick 5 with 23 laps remaining. Richie Evans, Brian Ross running 1-2. It looks like now you're going to have a battle momentarily between the number 5. Sachs, though, hangs on tough in the Ernie Wilsberg ruling electric machine. Richie Evans, the BR to win. Rapid Roman out in front. 54 laps. He's running still 18.7. Brian Ross right now is just 0.7 of a second behind the leader, but he had run the majority of the race, tucked bumper to bumper. He has fallen off just a little bit and can't seem to pick up the ground. Meanwhile, way off the pace, nearly a straightaway behind in third, the United Jamie Tomeno. And all of a sudden, look at this battle for third. Tomeno, Ruggiero, Sachs, and Bodine. They are right together, and that's the battle. And Richie Evans. Evans out in front, still running that lap at 18.66. 0.7 of a second behind. It is still Brian Ross. The battle for third. You got Jamie Tomeno down low. Here's Ruggiero going to the outside. Sachs fills the hole low. Bodine looks high. So they come four together down the front straightaway. Tomeno, Ruggiero on the outside. Sachs and Bodine. Sachs now tucks it up underneath Reggie. Down the back straightaway, and Greg Sachs underneath looking for fourth. Evans and Brian Ross still 0.7 of a second behind. Tomeno wide in the corner. He takes Reggie way out, and Sachs gets underneath. So Tomeno let loose in the corner, drifted way wide, and took the other fellas out with him. But it was the 44 of Reggie Ruggiero, and it's still the 61 of Richie Evans. Evans, the race leader, with Brian Ross running in the number 2 spot. Greg Sachs in the number 4 links behind Evans. Evans out in front, but Brian Ross trying to get back on it, making it up to fight the battle with him for the win. Passing flag is out again for Jim Alborn and Eddie Bellinger, Jim McGraw, and Don Pratt. As Greg Sachs running in third. Brett Bodine 4 in front. Evans 18.61 the leader. Bodine now with heavy traffic ahead. Trying to Don Pratt. He ducks low down there in the corner. Evans another lap of 18.6. Passing flag for Pratt. Bodine moves to the outside of Don Pratt as Reggie Ruggiero tries to challenge Jamie Tomeno. A battle going on still for the 5th spot, but it's out. And the 44, Reggie Ruggiero running 6th in the last 10 laps. Richie gets it down to 18.59. Here's turn 1. That's the way they're running. Traffic ahead. Richie Evans 18.55, and he cannot shake Brian Ross. They've got slower cars ahead, but not that much slower. Those cars are battling for a top 10 spot. See what happens when they come up on them. You've got the 52 of Doug Hewitt, the 48 of Wayne Edwards. Richie Evans goes to the outside. Brian Ross looks for a hole somewhere with him. They both go to the outside. Evans is by both, and Ross follows him right through the high groove. They're running bumper to bumper now with a half dozen laps to go. Richie Evans and Brian Ross. Evans out in front, Ross running second, 18.78. They've got nearly a half lap. Out in front, Richie Evans in the 61, the 73. Brian Ross running second. In third, the 5 of Greg Sachs. Fourth, the 12 of Brett Bodine. Fifth pace, but has been unable to shake Brian Ross. He's got the lead back up to about 0.3 of a second. 3 car lengths over Brian Ross, but Brian hanging tough with him as they come down now. 2 to go. 2 more times around, and Richie Evans trying to solidify his hold on first place, looking for his second feature win of the season here at Oswego. Brian Ross hangs right there second. Greg Sachs running third. Brett Bodine is fourth. Here's your leader on the white flag lap. Richie Evans out in front of Brian Ross. Greg Sachs all alone third. Brett Bodine all alone fourth. A battle for fifth with Jamie Tomeno and Reggie Ruggiero. Hello flag, Brian Ross. Richie Evans with the win. Brian Ross finishing second. Greg Sachs was third. Brett Bodine fourth. Jamie Tomeno fifth. Reggie Ruggiero sixth. Here he is, the winner. How about a nice hand for Richie Evans? And Richie Evans down the front straightaway waving the checkered flag. He picked up win number 26 last night at Spencer. Number 27 right here tonight at the Oswego Speedway.
Okay, the victor spoils may be going right in front of us to Richie Evans, but Brian Ross, you happen to be a very fortunate guy. Dogfight all the way, and second spot gets you qualified for the Budweiser Modified Sportsman 200 here at Oswego and for the Pocono Race of Champions.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is I hope all the fans enjoyed the race. That's what we come here for, to put a show on for them first off. Thank you very much. Second of all, I'd like to say I think the car was capable tonight, and the old master beat me himself because I forgot my strap and my head fell over. And I've been having a lot of trouble with my neck lately, and I'm a little bit overtired, and Richie says old age.
Well, I don't know. Let's have a handshake here first, and we'll get a little more conversation in with both of them.
One thing I want to say, so many times when the chips were down, this guy has helped me out an awful lot. I'm an independent, and so many times he's loaned me stuff and given me good advice. Tonight he gave me some good advice on a tire. I can't thank him enough. The guy is really a super racer. He's the guy that makes racing what it is today. He's the guy you got to beat. And damn, I'll tell you, he's one tough competitor and a good friend of mine. Thanks a lot, Richie. Proud to be beat by you.
Proud to be beat by you. The words from Brian Ross to Richie Evans. And Richie, here's... we got to pass that Budweiser along. Congratulations on your big win in the National Parts Peddler 75.
Yeah, the car was perfect tonight. Brian hung right there, though. I said, boy, there's no mistakes tonight because Brian's going to go under. Because I didn't realize he got through when I got by Jamie. He came with me, and he hung there. I'm proud of him.
Well, I thought in addition to the National Parts Peddler Trophy, the winner tonight would be getting an awful lot of hardware. But you've already won a spot by virtue of your win at the Holland Speedway for the Pocono Race of Champions. Last night, your victory at Spencer puts you in the Budweiser Modified Sportsman 200 at Oswego. So all the rest of the hardware is going to Brian.
Well, I couldn't think of a better guy to get it, so I'm happy.
On the other hand, Webster, Pabst, and Dr. Pepper will have a little something for you next time back.
Yeah, I think we get the $500 check instead of the $450 again. So I'd like to thank everybody on my crew and Gene DeWitt and Goodyear and just everybody that helps this car keep running.
Okay, congratulations to a proud winner, Richie Evans.
Thank you.
Richie Evans, the winner here in the first half of the Twin Bill. Now we've got some trophies to be presented to our second place finisher. We already did it, huh? Let's get all the hardware here and read it by one more time, Brian. Marilyn, maybe you'd like to make a presentation on Mike to Mr. Brian Ross.
Well, I want to thank Brian Ross and the rest of the competitors for a fine competitive race. We really enjoyed it. He did a super job. And I want to, on behalf of Joe Gerber, invite all of you to come down to the Race of Champions on September 17th and 18th and thank Oswego Speedway for having the qualifier.
Well, I'd be honored to represent Oswego Speedway at the Race of Champions. And Joe Gerber always puts on a fantastic show down there. If we're in one piece and the motor's all in one piece there, we're definitely going to be there because we like going to that race. And like I said, Joe puts on a super show. Hope to represent Oswego Speedway.
Well, another shot you're going to have to represent Oswego Speedway will be at Oswego Speedway, and here's Romy Caruso to tell us about that.
Brian, on behalf of Eagle Beverage and Budweiser Beer, we'd like to present you with a plaque emulating your qualifier for the Budweiser Modified 200 at Oswego. on Saturday, September 3rd. Congratulations.
Again, I'd like to say one of the best shows in the Northeast is that 200. Any show at Oswego, to tell you the truth. But that 200's got a fantastic payoff. It is one of the best shows in the Northeast. One of my favorite places to go, Oswego, if not the favorite. I always like to make these shows here. I'd be honored to represent you at the Oswego 200 also.
So Richie and Brian will be back, and they'll be in the thick of things, I'm sure. Again, congratulations to you, Brian, on a very strong second-place finish today.
Thank you very much. Thank all you fans for coming to the show.
Okay, there you have it, a wrap-up with Brian Ross and Richie Evans. They're all friends of Richie Evans when they hit the winner's circle at Oswego this year, it seems, in the modified division.